So welcome to the podcast, The Crooked Path, where we talk about spirituality, underline everything in life, in all of our lives. So today I've got a special guest. It's Johan Tino, and he's a friend of mine, and I'm very grateful to know Johan. He created a local organization here in Copenhagen called Tinkuy. Hi, welcome, Johan.
Yeah, thanks, Marcelo.
And Tinkuy is a spiritual fitness center. It's really open-minded. It's a community center, and it's got a very low monthly fee, just 108 krona per month. And it's just open for anyone who wants to go in there and do things, different types of spiritual projects. And so there are no rules, just the basic rule of respect, I think, right? Mm-hmm. And offering things with a clear heart. So it's a wonderful project, and I teach yoga over there, and I love the place. I'm very grateful it exists. And anyways, here's Johan, and I want to ask him some questions about Tinkuy, about his upbringing, about his spirituality, about all those things, the context. So welcome.
Yeah, thanks. I'm never glad for the invitation, and
yeah, I thought it would be a natural, easy conversation.
Yeah.
So. How's the tea?
It's great. Yeah, it's great.
Okay. So yeah, Johan, I was wondering if you could maybe set the context a little bit. What was your life like before, when you were growing up? What were your inspirations in your life, and how did you end up becoming more and more spiritual in your life?
Yeah, I would say when I look back upon my life, I would say it has been there's been a first part, and then there has been this second part. I experienced quite a sudden shift 15 years ago. In my upbringing and in my teenage years until I was 26, I was, following the cultural programmed path, and I was very interested in getting rich and getting the all these status symbols that you think is important, and I felt okay, it's really important to get a lot of money and have status in my job and stuff like that. So I was following that path very eagerly.
Okay.
For the first 26 years, really, and in the school I was eager to get approval, actually, from the teachers. Mm-hmm. I was searching for, you could say I was navigating to get approval in everywhere I was. I was adapting my behavior and.
When did you notice that you were doing that? Did you notice while that was happening, or did you reflect on it later?
I reflect on that later, and then after this. Awakening or this sudden shift I experienced 15 years ago, I was noticing this pattern in myself. I still had the momentum for this searching for approval, and I can still see it today actually, and have a nice relationship with that part of myself.
But that's a normal human thing. It's called the human approval junkie syndrome.
Yeah,
I mean that's the name I made up for it. But
please, I call it in Danish pleaserrolle. The role for searching for. Yeah.
To please others.
To please others. Yeah.
Yes, right. So the human approval junkie syndrome, the pleasing roller. Yeah. Right. So what happened?
Well, what happened was that I was living abroad. I was living in New York in the year 2000 because I was there to finish my thesis as a software engineer.
Oh.
And I was, finishing my thesis, and I was, all my traditional dreams was about to be fulfilled with this nice job and high salary and high status in the normal way job, and then one Sunday something happened. I had been at work on a Sunday and I found this small room in the middle of Manhattan, just 5 square meters or something. But
That's where you were living?
I was living there for 7 months there.
Okay, as an exchange student?
Yeah, it was an internship. Yeah.
Okay.
And then, this Sunday, I think it was a Sunday in December 2000, I was on my way home and I walked down to this subway station that I'd done so many times before. And what was strange already when I walked down the stairs was that there was only 2 people at this, really, it was Union Square in the middle of Manhattan, it's a really busy place.
Yeah.
So this was Sunday, so of course it would be a little less busy, but still there was only 2 people. It was
still not empty like that.
No, it was really like, okay, this is strange. No, so and there was 2 people, and one was a man waiting for the train, and the other was a woman. She was dancing and singing. And I was thinking, okay, normally when you dance and sing, you don't. In my mind back then, I would say you don't dance and sing when there's no one around, because why should you do that? There's no one watching. so I was labeling her at that time as a crazy person, or as a crazy person. So I had my ear plugs in. I was listening to some heavy metal. I remember some Machine Head, the band was called, and I was turning up the volume to mute this singing she was producing, but still, I would say today it was her singing that woke me up. I didn't realize that at the time. I just suddenly experienced that I noticed a shift in my whole system. It was like I suddenly woke up just a little. Yeah. Awakening, like you have been in a doze or a slight hypnotic trance, and then I just
even though you had earphones on and you're turning up the music, it still went through.
Yeah.
Her music.
Yeah, I think it was her vibration with the dancing and singing. I think she was there to wake me up, to be honest, and she did, and I realized that I have something completely. I was, it was kind of like there was a lot of humor in the experience, because I was thinking, what have I been doing? It was like it was really like, and I knew instantly that there was some deeper meaning to life. I knew that there was, I would say, that God was real.
Yes.
And I knew also what I had to do, and I knew what I had to do in a wordless and imageless manner. It was just a knowing. So ever since then, I have been in contact with this knowing, I would call it, and I chose to be guided by that. Or there was really no choice. It was totally clear that this is what I had to do. Yeah.
So that's so magical. Did the changes start happening gradually, or was it a kaboom?
It was a kaboom. It was it was like the snap of the fingers, and in the beginning I was really like a damp child, it's ADHD. Like I was like a person with really much energy, and I was
attention deficit disorder.
Yeah, I was a little over energized right after the experience. Like like I was like a missionary man. I felt like I had seen the light, and I noticed people around me sleeping.
Yes.
So my impulse was to in the beginning in a gentle way try to wake them up, and if the gentle way didn't work, I was maybe being pushy, or could say like a little extreme. Yeah. But that was in the beginning.
Yeah. So like a born again Christian going up to people in the supermarket.
Not exactly.
Not like that,
but in the picture, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, fascinating. And So after the experience with the woman, and you went back to your apartment?
Yeah.
What happened in your apartment?
I was feeling a lot of, joy and meaningfulness and excitement for this new way of looking at life. And I was
like
also,
suddenly the lights were turned on.
Yeah, I suddenly I was navigating in the world from a completely different operating system, you would say. And I was also like in bewildered because up to that point I have been an atheist and I had believed in science. I really believed that the natural science can give the answers to the problems and stuff like that. So I was also bewildered about what was the next step. So I remember I was Googling about the Bible. That was the only, I was Googling the Bible and reading stuff from the Bible and yeah.
Did you go to some church or something after that in Manhattan?
Yeah, I was in a church, yeah. Just to experience the atmosphere in a church and
how did that feel?
It felt good, yeah. I was touched by the church room and yeah.
And probably touched by the sincerity of the people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's such a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So, what happened with your family? I mean, were they shocked when they saw such a big change in you?
Yeah, the thing is that they didn't see, on the outside I looked the same. So they had, because it has fortunately changed during the past 15 years, but they had a very, Johan, he's like this, and he likes that, and he don't like this, and he is in that manner. And up to that point, I actually liked that. But after this change, it felt like a straitjacket. It felt like really, I realized what we do to each other. Just having an idea about who this person is really like, if I should exaggerate a little, it's like a mental rape. It's like overgreb is a Danish word. It's like when you assault somebody.
Yeah.
Mental rape. It's not the right word, but
right.
You get the idea that when you have a fixed idea of what a person is like, you project that thought form, and if the person jumps into that thought form and is this role, then there's no problem.
Then that's a straitjacket.
That's a straitjacket, yeah.
Yeah.
So I realized what I had been doing and what my family was doing naturally and what people do in just, that's the normal state that we project these ideas about who other people are. And I felt very vividly in my system what it does, how, it felt like I couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
I was seen like somebody that's not me.
That's not me.
So I was getting increasingly desperate for breathing in these with my family, and so I was deliberately doing stuff that showed them that the old Johan is not anymore. It's something that's a change has happened. So I was provoking, you could say. I think today my family would say I had my teenage, when I'm a teenager.
Yeah, the growth spurt.
Yes, exactly.
Or the teenage rebellion.
Yeah, the teenage rebellion. I hadn't been rebellious as a teenager at all. So this was.
So it came later.
It came later, yeah.
So when this happened in Manhattan, did you finish your thesis? Did you move back to Denmark right away? What happened?
Yeah, that's quite an interesting. What happened was I instantly knew what direction I wanted to turn my thesis into. I had been working on a speech recognition system, and I had finished this speech recognition system, and then I had talked to my boss about the next step in this project. But then I realized, okay, I had to do something else. I had to go to a more fundamental level of this speech recognition issue. So I was starting doing more basic research, you could say, about in the area of self-organizing systems.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very inspired by, at that time, as a sociologist, Niklas Luhmann, German writer. He wrote a book called Social Systems, about self-organizing systems.
Okay.
So I was really inspired by that and got some ideas how to build that into a computer program.
Mm-hmm.
So I was beginning my work there, and I later finished that, and a scientific magazine in Israel actually published my article about this system. But at that time, back in 2000, it was too early for the company. They couldn't see the potential in this idea, and I was unreachable in terms of changing my idea about what I wanted to work with. So I made that choice to work on that, and then as long as the company would grant me access to the office and the computers, and then I would be happy to be there and work on it.
And the company was where? You said Israel, but the office you were working
Yeah, it was in New York.
It was in New York?
Yeah.
Well, it was a branch of the company in Sorry. The company was in Manhattan.
It was in Manhattan. It was called Speechworks, and it was there was the main part was in Boston, and then they had a company in New York also.
Oh, the subsidiary or a branch office in Manhattan. And the paper that wrote your article or that published your paper was in Israel.
Yeah, it was a magazine called Physica Plus in Israel. Yeah, okay. And it was some years later they published this one. But then I was feeling like this. I had this rebellious spirit in me, like you could say the small example of it was parents and the family viewing me in a certain way. But in a broader sense, it's our whole culture that's built on viewing each other in a certain way, keeping us in our little boxes, and I was really...
Sure, the conformity.
Yeah, I was so... I really felt that in my system, and I was rebellious about that, so... So what I did was I wrote an email to the
boss.
Yeah, I wrote an email to the company in Manhattan.
Okay.
And at that time I didn't realize, since this was a software company working with speech recognition, and the main customer was the American defense organizations called DARPA. DARPA, yeah.
Defense Advanced Research Development, projects, advanced,
agency, something like that. And they were the main supplier they were the main investor and because they had interest in speech recognition.
Sure.
Yeah. I wasn't aware of that at that time, but it meant that there was a very high security level in the company that I wasn't aware of at that time. So, for instance, when I wrote an email to New York, everybody in the main office in Boston would read this mail, and God knows who else would read it. But what I wrote in that email was, I know all your secrets. I said. So it was like, I was writing the email from a sincere psychological point of view, where I know the boss is having his martini. Everybody knows the boss is having his martini and doesn't talk about it. Everybody knows that this guy is having a joint and doesn't talk about it. Everybody knows, or most of the company knows, that this guy is homosexual, but nobody talks about it. All these games
that
was played was like, said, just relax, just let go of these secrets and just be yourself. And I wrote a long email and but when a high security company see a mail like that with "I know all your secrets" and just relax and that's
they had a bad reaction.
They have a bad reaction. So the next morning when I came, I was surprised to find my superior and the secretary and a guard. I think he was even an armed guard, but it was a guard in the block. They were standing in the lobby. And the boss, he said, Johan, we better have a cup of coffee over here at Starbucks. And at that time I was just surprised to see them there. I was like, what is this about? And so we walked to this cafe and we had...
With the guard?
No,
okay,
just him and the secretary, so we went over there and he asked me, what is this mail about? What is this? And I explained it to him, but what I say now, that all these secrets is annoying me and all this stuff. And he realized, okay, this is not about any blackmail, this is not about any company secrets or something.
It's not about espionage.
Yeah, exactly, So, but at that time the decision was already taken and he had a man, one of the other employees, he had my stuff packed in a cardboard box and he came down with it and he handed me a sealed envelope, which he in between his words he said, okay, this is your payment for the past few months, because I hadn't been delivering my salary, because I didn't want to collect salary until the company knew what I was working on had a real interest for them. So I thought, okay, at least I'll get my salary then for the past few months. But it turned out to be a card from the employees. So that's how I left the company. and he told me I had like 2 weeks or something I was allowed to stay there, and then I had to leave the country because of the rules.
Oh, the visas.
Yeah, visa rules. Yeah.
Wow, DARPA. They're involved in some dark stuff too.
Yeah, I think they are probably involved in a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I was just recently reading about them too.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So moving forward, you came back to Denmark.
Yeah.
And this shift had happened to you. Your family was still seeing you on the outside as Johan, but inside you're a different person.
Exactly.
So what started happening for you in your life here?
Yeah, I was isolating myself. You would say I was having a small group of friends that I met with on a regular basis, but I was also frustrated about that they didn't really understand what I was going through, So I was quite isolating myself, but I felt happy about being alone, and I was reading a lot of spiritual books and books about psychology, and was really inspired. I was finishing this work about these self-organizing systems, and I started work. I had different jobs. I had, I got my software engineer diploma, but not the full diploma, but a partial diploma. But I partly circumstances pushed me to take other jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So I was teaching at schools, and I was having jobs as helping a disabled person, and
So like alternative jobs have opened your eyes. Maybe.
Yeah. I was, I was experiencing myself as my old, the old Johan. How is he when he's working as a person who is helping a disabled person? I discovered that I had a lot of pride in me. Okay, I'm going to the university for so many years. I should have a better job than this. All these reactions like this. So I was just observing this, and observing the emotions coming up in that process, and it was really a big gift when they released.
Yeah. Oh, fascinating. Fascinating. So, it kind of reminds me of this documentary I saw one time, like 10 years ago. And it was about this guy in Manhattan who one day he got amnesia. And it was a real story. He showed up in a hospital and it was wintertime and he just had like a thin t-shirt and a thin jacket, like what you're wearing. Mm-hmm. And he walks into the hospital and he says, "Can you help me? I can't remember who I am." Mm-hmm. And they found nothing on his body, no ID, nothing, no. I think they found some keys or something, mm-hmm. but that was it. But they didn't know where the keys. He didn't know who he was. Mm-hmm. And then it turned out that he got amnesia. The hospital put out a report and the media put out, does anyone know who this person is? His ex-girlfriend saw him on the news and went to pick him up at the hospital. Yeah. And it turned out that he was a stockbroker. He had his own huge apartment, that he owned free and clear, no loans, he did well. But he couldn't remember who he was. And so they brought his old friends to try to help him. Yeah. But his old friends remembered a guy who was very cynical, very proud, very arrogant, right? Making funny, witty, cynical remarks about things. And so that was his But this new guy had nothing in common with his old friends. No. And they were like, they didn't know what to do with this guy. No. But this other guy, he became like a nicer person. Yeah. He became a more compassionate person. Yeah. And then he ends up going back to he had a hobby of being a photographer. Yeah. And so he apparently he found out about that and he decided to approach the school and he wanted to join the program again. They said, "Well, you were studying for 3 years, but you need to catch up." And so this guy focused so hard, catching up for like 3 months. He was just doing nothing else but that. Mm-hmm. And then he caught up very quickly, but his photographs were much better than before. Yeah. They were portraits. Yeah. And he could just really capture a photo of a person where there was no mask on them. They were their true natural selves. Yeah. And he got a new girlfriend and she was very different than the other one. Yeah. And it was like he became such a better person. Very interesting, yeah. It's really like a miniature example of what is happening on the collective scale, maybe you could say, with this false identity is releasing for humanity. Yeah, because the word personality comes from the word persona, the Etruscan word persona, and persona in Etruscan, the ancient society, it meant a mask worn in a play, like I've said before. Yeah. And so our personalities is just a mask. Yeah. Just like Shakespeare said. Yeah. And then what you're talking about, society, this mask is breaking down right now. Yeah. And there's this fear reflex that is hitting society. Yeah. A deep denial and a deep sense of fear. Yeah, exactly. Especially for those people who or many people who don't know who are they without the mask. And without the identity, without the career identity, with like, hey, hi, I'm John, I'm a so and so, So fascinating, the whole thing. Yeah. So there's a strong tendency to keep onto these masks, it's like two different tendencies: the tendency to cling to the mask, and the tendency to let it go. It's like really an intense time with these two. Yeah. Well, sometimes you were talking about before, I think, about an illness or some crisis will happen to someone and the mask falls off at that time. And it turns out to be a gift in disguise. Yeah. Yeah. So you came back to Denmark and you were doing these other jobs and they sort of like, you saw that your pride was, that there was pride, but you had this growth from it. Yeah. This deeper insight. Yeah. And so how did the Tinkuy thing start coming along?
I was becoming part of I identify myself with this new part of humanity, we call it, with all of us who wants to create a community based on the heart values.
So like a new human.
Yeah, I realized that the way we have built society is just not working. It's
not working
at all. So how,
it's so destructive.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's a straitjacket society.
It's a straitjacket society. Exactly. Yeah. And then I could see the other impulse to this heart-based society. But the structures was very fluid, and they were there and they dissolved again, and so I, along with many other people, had the longing for this other kind of society, how to be with other people in another way, how to relate to other people in another way, how to exchange resources in a completely different way, and talk in a different way. And I was seeing it at these spiritual festivals, actually. Probably it happens many other places, but at least in these spiritual festivals, it's a place where people come open-minded, and they have these typically 5, 6 days, 7 days maybe in nature, and there's yoga, and there's meditation, and there's all these activities which you can just relax
and be your natural self.
Be your natural self. Yeah. And I saw how is things working when people act from their natural selves. So this gave me the inspiration for Tinkuy.
So Tinkuy only opened up a year ago.
Yeah.
So that's very recent compared to the 15 years when you had the wake up experience in the metro in Manhattan, the subway, with the lady dancing and singing. But after you came back here, how you started seeing these things in the spiritual community, something, because what I'm trying to get at is my wife, she's Danish, as you know. And she had to leave Denmark because she was on a spiritual quest also. And she said it wasn't here for her. It was limited for her at that time. So she needed to go out, and she really put everything in storage. Her family was really upset, and she just went with a backpack or a suitcase and just went over to India with an open ticket and not knowing where she was going to end up. And that's how we ended up meeting. But it was what she said it was. If she had stayed here, she would have been stuck. No more learning. But now the ground is ready. Now the soil is ready. So last year, the beginning of Tinkuy started. So Tinkuy's only been, active for 1 year. But it's been really dynamic. Like when there's a dry soil and you add water, and the soil is just a plant, for example. The plant is all droopy, and then very quickly it becomes full of life again. So
that's exactly what
that's how it looks like. That people were starving for this, and a lot of people that I've noticed in Tinkuy who are so grateful that this movement has started up, where they can go do things that feels good for their heart. So that's how did that start, the whole Tinkuy thing?
Well, it started last year. I got an email about a place nearby here called the Hub. It was a place.
The Hub?
The Hub. It's a place.
HUB?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a place. Actually, it's a place in big cities all over the world. It's a place where entrepreneurs can work on projects that are beneficial for the world. But it turned out that it didn't work out here in Copenhagen, or they had to close there. So they said this nice space was available, and the rent you could rent the place in a low price or a decent price. So I got this email just before I was heading off for this festival in Sweden, and I said I felt, okay, we have to do something there in line of these ideas.
The festival, was it a rainbow festival?
No, it was called, it's called Playful Heart Festival.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a very nice festival. It's once a year in Sweden.
Okay.
Yeah. So I quickly just wrote like 3 pages about what is the idea about this place. It's something about spirituality. There should be meditation, yoga, and some kind of rhythm which stabilizes you in your natural self.
Mm-hmm.
And then there should also be a space for working on entrepreneurial projects and a cafe also.
Yeah.
So these 3 parts, I could see how they could work nicely together. So I brought these papers with me to the festival and talked to people at the festival about it, and among them Tanya, who showed a great deal of interest in the idea, and we got home to Copenhagen and I had some meetings. I think we had maybe 4 meetings at the hub, and and then we started a Facebook campaign to collect money for this idea. And in 18 days, we collected 275,000 Danish kroners from 86 different people.
Wow, that's, I think in dollars, US dollars, that's like $45,000 in 8 weeks, you said?
In 18 days.
18 days.
So that's a little more than 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was really like, this is like a big, that's really a backup for this now.
Yeah.
It was like
that's a strong wind behind you.
Yeah, I was really like, there was.
And so what happened next?
We found, it turned out that this place, at the hub, we couldn't have this type of activity there. So we found this other much better place here, nearby here at Skøttegade in Copenhagen. And we made the company and we signed the contract and we had these empty rooms and moved in there on the 14th of November last year.
And took a lot of work, I imagine, to...
Well, we had the decision. It had to be, we had the focus, but we was also guided by it. It had to be effortless.
Yes.
If it wasn't effortless, then we would listen. Okay, this is not effortless. Then what else should we do here? So it was very effortless. Everything. It was like, we have these empty rooms. Okay, we need furniture and.
Well, first you guys painted the walls.
No,
wasn't it full of graffiti inside or artwork?
The
graffiti
whole,
artwork.
It was 240 square meters, and the owner of the building completely made it exactly as we wanted it.
Oh, she did.
Yeah.
Oh.
Painted it and put in some walls and.
And the wood floor, also.
Yeah.
Oh.
It was. In Danish it's called fliser, it was a stone floor before.
Okay. Wow.
So it was really like, much work before we...
So that work was done?
Yeah.
For Tinkuy?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought I was under the impression that the Tinkuy, the core beginning group, they did all the work, painted the walls and put in the floor and... It just happened so easily.
Yeah.
Okay. And so... That was November last year?
Yeah.
And then what happened? How did it spread?
Yeah, today we have 550 members, of course, and we started with the member group from the investors. Some of the investors wanted to be members, to use the place for these activities. And then we posted on Facebook that this is open and you can come and do yoga, meditation and use the place, and people started coming and the people like you came in and wanted to teach and,
I went because there was a documentary being shown there, Free Your Mind, or about these veterans, American veterans who were taking a lot of antidepressants. They had post-traumatic stress disorder, of course, understandable, and they had to take so many pills just to be, and they're all depressed and having problems with their bodies, and it was, and they taught them meditation, and it was so powerful and positive. And I remember it was you had a group dinner before the documentary. There was a group dinner, which is a normal, it happens quite often in Tinkuy. Just anyone come in with it's such a wonderful thing. People come in with something to share with one other person. So it's like a big dinner with all these different things and smiley faces. And I said, wow, I want to be a part of this. It felt so good, and I remember feeling that something like this was really missing in Copenhagen.
Yeah.
In the Northern European, the Scandinavian cold culture, and high formality sometimes. And I just remember feeling so grateful when I came to Tinkuy and seeing this.
Yeah, and that's the normal reaction. People are grateful to find this place.
Yeah. So how are things going now at Tinkuy? Like you've been open a year now. What's been happening at the beginning, at the middle, and now?
Yeah, what happened in the beginning was there was work to be done, especially regarding the web platform. So I worked along with a wonderful person, Carsten, who has been doing a lot of work on the website. So very quickly we managed together to put down or to make the website. Mostly Carsten. I was sitting by his side and So that was the first part. There was a lot of focus on that. Of course, furniture. The rooms was empty in the beginning, and then furniture started coming in.
Appearing. It was being donated.
Yeah, every furniture has been donated, and we have books that's been donated. Because this is such a low price, it's almost free to be a member.
Yeah.
So people has a very, they would like to give something. It's,
right. Just to translate convert the currency, 108 krona turns out to be less than $20. It's 108 krona per month membership fee.
Yeah.
And that's less than $20. It's like $18 or $17 per month, and you have access to this wonderful spiritual fitness center.
Yeah, and the idea is that when a lot of, this is a fitness center that works on normal traditional terms in the economy today, But it turns out that when a lot of people they go together, like they contribute together with this small amount, then it can. There's today we have exact balance financially. We still need a little more to pay off some loans and stuff like that, but today we have an exact balance on the financial side.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's quite a thing.
Yeah.
And I remember you were discussing, you're asking for ideas for how to increase the revenue in order to, and I was recommending, I said, hey Johan, 108 krona is really low. I think you can go up to 200 krona per month, and that suddenly you get a big boost with revenue and everything will be easier but you were like, no. There's a reason why it's 108, and I totally understand. It took me a while to understand, but it makes total sense. But could you please explain about the 108?
Yeah. It's a low. First of all, it's a nice number. In Buddhism and in I think it's in Buddhism. Yeah.
Hinduism.
It's in Hinduism. Okay, yeah. You have this 108.
It's a sacred number.
Yeah. So that makes it really a nice number, but it's also, it has been chosen because it's such it's a low price that almost everyone in Denmark can afford this. So it's like it's very low. So when you pay this and you get all this stuff for free, when you pay this, you get free access to almost all activities Monday to Thursday, and you can use the treatment rooms. You can even borrow the whole center.
Yeah, you can book treatment rooms, right?
Yeah. And the books you can borrow, and you can, you basically you get a lot of gifts from your membership.
Yeah.
And that creates like a circulation, because when you come in and discover that, the natural human reaction from the heart is that then you want to tell about this place. You want to contribute to this place. So that's what people has been doing. That's why it has been blossoming so fast, because people have been talking about it, and they have been donating the things we need and all this. So
all these different kinds of workshops are being created as well.
Yeah.
You know, very interesting, dynamic things. You know, so that's it. It is very dynamic. There's such a widespread type of events that are held there.
Yeah, and the idea is that it should be events without any financial exchange. It's like the 108 is like, okay, that's the financial part done, and then everything that's happening in Tinkuy is based on gift economy, you could say, and it really works.
Well, I was impressed with the 108 thing, so much so that my Facebook name for my business, the Insight Counseling, I made it Facebook Insight Counseling 108. Yeah. So I also went with the 108. It just felt really good. Yeah. But there are some things that are charged money for in there. You know.
We have.
So what's happening with that?
Yeah, we can't. Right now we can't afford to pay all the person teaching there. So the way the teachers is paid is they charge 30 Danish kroners for members and 60 for non-members, and then what they collect in the entrance fee for that is their salary, you could say. Then there's other workshop which is free because the teacher maybe has donated the teaching. So there's a small part of the activities during the weekdays there's a small charge for that. In this first phase, the next step will be to put down the fee to 20 Danish kroner, very low, and then we pay a little more to the teachers, and then totally free Monday to Thursday. So that's the weekday concept. And then in the weekends, you know, any person, any workshop holder can borrow the center, any member can borrow the center and have his or her workshop there and charge money for it. So they charge money in the weekend, and they say, okay, what do I feel like charging for this workshop? And then they charge this, and then they give a 50% discount to Tinkuy members, and have between 2 and 6 free spots for members also. And then they don't pay any. They just borrow the center, and it's like a gift exchange. They give some free spaces, and we give the center so they can have their workshop.
Okay. So and what about I remember you telling me about the numbers of people, the membership. There's a bit of a turnover at times. Like every month, some like 20 members drop out.
Yeah.
And then, but that gets replaced. You know, it's like it's very dynamic as well.
Yeah.
You know, some people. You know,
it's like it has stabilized. We have been like 550 people, and we have been there for the past few months. We can see it. It is like people are dropping out because they don't use the center. Is a typical explanation, and then other people come in. So it's like it's like a group organism, and right now the group,
a self-organizing
system, and right now 550 members is the balancing point.
It's the equilibrium point.
Yeah.
Wow. And what about the personality types of the people that have been attracted to this? Have you noticed any things there with that?
I think you could say if there's a common denominator, it is they all have an openness. They all have there's no one with a fixed dogma. If a person comes there and they have a fixed dogma about how this type of yoga is the only type of yoga, or this spiritual practice is the spiritual practice.
Yeah.
they tend to find other places. But besides that, people are very different.
Okay. So, and do you feel that there's this momentum building up for it, for Tinkuy, or because 550 people is still, that's quite a bit of that's quite a lot of number of people, but there is this hunger in Copenhagen for a spiritual fitness center.
Yeah.
So do you feel that it's going to grow more, or it's going to spread to other cities? What's going on with that?
That's we started we call it the New Circle movement. It's a forening in Danish. I always forget the English word for it. It's when people get together and create with a common cause.
Yeah.
We call it a forening in Danish. So we created that in June this year to hold the intention for this movement. And this movement, the responsibilities is to provide the web platform. First of all, the web platform. So when we have the center really solid here in Copenhagen, we can say this is a free concept. Everybody is free to use this, and you started in a new city by doing this, and the method is simply to be a member of this New Circle movement, and you plant the idea for this center, and if at least 100 people support the idea, then you get support from New Circle movement, financial support, and you also get the web platform as a support. So once the concept and the web platform is fully finished, it's really easy to start this concept in other cities.
And when you've been around town, and meeting with other people who have nothing to do with Tinkuy, and they ask you what it's about, have they been fascinated with it? Have you noticed regular people, non-spiritual people, how have they been reacting with it?
Well, people are interested in it, and they really, what I hear is that they are really, wow, this is really like a nice accomplishment, and they really say, they are really grateful that we have done this. And, they are interested in it and want to hear about it. And
I think more and more people are realizing that a normal upbringing in society where you focus so hard on creating a career and all that, they're starting to realize that it doesn't lead to self-fulfillment. No. It leads to it's like a brick wall eventually that they slam into. So, I had an interesting experience this weekend. I went with my wife. We were invited to a friend's this lady and her boyfriend, they were getting married. She's very pregnant. And so they decide to get married before the baby's born. Yeah. And so they had a little gathering at a cafe in Frederiksberg, and maybe like 30 people. Early afternoon brunch type thing, and I remember being who I am. I don't talk about other things. I think spirituality is the most important aspect. In spirituality, it's about knowing yourself. Whatever technique is used, but it's the most important thing, is what the ancient Greeks said, is know yourself. So anything can be done with a sense of spirituality or a deeper essence, like cooking or gardening or woodworks or craftworks or anything at all. So I was talking with someone, a few people sitting across from me and next to me, and I was saying the importance of meditation, how important it is, how transformation it is. And somewhere in the Bible says, where there is no vision, the people will perish. Yeah. And I really strongly feel that in the modern world, there is no vision. It's all this pretense, it's all this destructive, this normal societal tendency that's destroying everything for short-term profits. And that meditation, for example, can just be so transformative. Such a simple thing that is free for someone to do. and to do it in whatever style they like to do, whatever fits their temperament, but where they go into themselves and they become better friends with themselves and they know each. And so I'm giving this little speech, just talking from my heart about this, and I noticed that so many people have stopped talking and they were listening, secretly listening to what I was saying.
Yeah.
They were hungry for it too. They were like the plants with no water, getting a little few droplets of water and said, oh, that sounds really nice, and willing to give it a try in one way or another. Some seeds were planted. So I've been noticing more and more people being aware of this. For regular people who are not very spiritual, who are just living their lives.
A lot of stuff is happening now, with the collapse of systems and the collapse of the psychological structures. And,
the collapse of systems. And on that note, I also very recently, 2 weeks ago, went to Los Angeles. I was born and raised in Los Angeles, and I went there to take care of some loose ends and to see some family. And I left in 1993. I said I will never return. And so it was just so shocking to be there, because it seemed to me like people looked really unhealthy.
Yeah.
It seems like people are struggling to survive, and the traffic in Los Angeles was horrible.
Yeah.
It was in the middle of the day. There'll be awful traffic, 6 lanes in each direction traffic, millions of cars, and recently I heard in a documentary, Los Angeles, 12 million people, 12 million cars. And that's the model that has been being copied around the world, in the major cities.
And that model is collapsing.
That model is collapsing, and I recently saw in the Copenhagen Post here, they were describing how last year was like the biggest sales for cars ever. 200,000 cars, which is minuscule for Los Angeles, but 200,000 cars in Denmark. But at the same time, what's not reported is there's more bicycles sold than ever before. There's more people saying no to cars, and there is like this, it's coming to a head.
There's the tendency to the crystallization, to hold on to what they know, and then the other tendencies to let go.
Well, the tendency to hold on is fear-based.
Yeah.
And it's the comfort zone.
Yeah.
And my wife, she recently said, there is no growth in the comfort zone. I thought that was so beautifully said.
Yeah.
And that's happening, as you were saying before, collectively for humanity.
Yeah.
It's happening for humanity.
Yeah.
So I hope this Tinkuy thing, I don't have to hope. I know it will spread. And it's not only just the Tinkuy model, but in other countries it's a different model, but it's the same thing, different name.
Exactly, yeah.
And maybe to close out this conversation that's been really lovely, Johan, thank you so much for participating in this. Let's, to close it out, what the hell does Tinkuy mean? Can you explain, how did you guys choose the name Tinkuy, and what does it mean?
It was Tanya who found the name. She has Spanish roots, and it's a word from the Quechua people in South America. And it means meeting, but it has a really multi-leveled meaning. It's a meeting in different levels. It can mean a meeting between two people when they meet in the heart. It can also mean the meeting between yourself and your own true self. It's also if you have two mountains, that point where these two mountains meet, that's also Tinkuy. And also a term I heard is two rivers. If two rivers meet, that's also Tinkuy. In this Quechua language.
Fantastic, because that is the essence of Tinkuy. It's like this meeting place.
Yeah.
This neutral meeting place where people come, and this like very dynamic and self-expression in all these different ways is like growing there and happening there. Oh, thank you, Johan. That was very beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you
very much. And that ends the podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Thank you. Bye. you.